Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 3-0 Take, where we talk all things Major League Baseball. Here's Kyle Corwin and Nate Reyes. It all starts right now.
Welcome back to the 3-0 Take, presented by SeatGeek. This is episode 435. I'll be your host, Kyle Corwin. I'm here with my co-host, Nate Reyes. Nate!
Hi, everybody. Go ahead and start your apology now, because if you're watching on YouTube and or catching us live on social, I need you to just go out and publicly say what you're wearing and what you should be wearing.
You want this? You want me to show you this? Since somebody doesn't believe me.
Just blaming our wholesome government workers.
No. There's nothing wholesome about the USPS. It's well documented that the USPS needs to get their crap together.
They are. That's
all right.
Fair.
It said it was supposed to show up Wednesday. What is that? Well, it's hard to really say. You can kind of see it right there. Wednesday, the 22nd by 9 p.m. Unfortunately, we're recording at 7 p.m. So there's still a chance that it shows up later tonight. But as you and I both know, and I texted this to you, the USPS doesn't make multiple, at least that I know of, they don't make multiple runs in an afternoon. So they came, they dropped off our mail. I went to look. The visor's in, but the polo's not. So
I just feel like
that's not on me.
I feel like now that we're starting to lose episodes.
We're not. Okay, so I meant to bring that up. So I don't know
I think
where
you need to wear it for the All-Star game now specifically.
No, absolutely not. I don't know where I got 12 from. I think 12 episodes for having to wear this polo and visor combo. I think that when I did the math on that, it was if we went the full 14 game stretch. Like if it was decided by the 14th game, if they were going to be 500 or better. But as we very well know, they went 2 and whatever. So the bet was decided much earlier. So I got a little bit of breathing room there. So I think if I would have started wearing it tonight, it would have been 15 episodes. So you would have gotten a few bonus episodes in there. So assuming we're good to go by next Sunday, that'll be 14 episodes. Which, ironically enough, is the amount of games that we were basing this whole bet off in the first place. So it's not on me. I ordered it as soon as I found a suitable replacement option for the polo that was out of stock.
I think we should have just bought it right away. That's what I think. And then you could have shipped it to me if I would have lost, which I think we all know wasn't going to happen anyway, you know? Whatever. Hey, it's all right.
I'm just not apologizing. Just so we're clear, there's nothing that I need to apologize for. If anybody needs to be apologizing, it's the USPS. It's the Postmaster General, who I believe is like 50th in line for the presidency, in case you're wondering.
Desperate times, you know.
If things get that bad, just know that the Postmaster General is ready and waiting to take over the presidency.
There's no way that job requires too much like innovation. You know what I'm saying? When you're interviewing for that, you're like, you know, I bet they're like, do you have any new ideas, sir? And they're like, no, I think we should just keep it the same, what we've been doing for the last 50 years.
Maybe increase the price of stamps by 3 cents.
Stamps are expensive, by the way.
It's insane.
Have you ever? We had to buy stamps for the thank yous, for the thank you cards that we're currently writing for the wedding. I had no idea. That was the first time I've ever bought stamps. We didn't know where to go. I had a feeling it would be done at the grocery store, over by the weird register where, you know, the degenerates are buying their lottery tickets, and I was like, I think that's where you go. And I thought they were like, hey, here's 10 stamps for like $0.25. No. One sleeve of stamps was like $15. I'm like, what is that?
You would think an art that is presumably on its way out, just with the digital innovation of being able to contact people via text and email and the like. that maybe the prices would go down in order to encourage people to continue to write letters to their family, their friends, their
That's true.
pen pals, whoever. But no,
They're really incentivizing us to send these. Which, by the way, I know half of everyone that's going to get one, including you, are going to be like, "Cool, thanks." Trash.
That's not
gonna
true.
hang around.
I'm going to put it on my refrigerator. You don't even know. I'm going to put it on my refrigerator. Let's talk some ball, shall we? We got to talk some Phillies. We got to talk some Stros. We got to talk some Bobby Witt. We got to talk Gunnar Henderson, some Vladdy, some Bo, and maybe some things sprinkled in between or at the end. Who knows? We'll see. We'll see where the conversation takes us. But here we are, episode 435. Let's start with the Phillies.
Pretty good ball club up there in the PA.
Best in baseball, actually, if we want to get technical. But I'm not a Phillies fan, so I'm not going to sit here and expect people to know that because it was news to me.
I don't know.
Again, as a non-Phillies fan here, it's well documented, not a Phillies fan. I just want that on the record, not a Phillies fan. Became the fifth team since the year 2000 to win 35 of their first 49 games. They're 27-6 in their last 33 games. They haven't gone 27-6 or better in any 33 game stretch since at least, take a guess.
08.
2008?
Mm-hmm.
Wrong.
1908.
Wrong.
Somewhere in between?
No.
No? Last year?
No.
Never.
It may as well be never. 1901.
What?
The Phillies have not gone 27-6 or better in any 33 game stretch since at least 1901.
And we know people couldn't even count back then, so we don't even know how accurate that is.
It's possible. It's possible. There should be an asterisk there. There really should. We don't know if 1901 is accurate because there was probably 12 people in the ballpark.
There's no calculators,
90% of the fans probably couldn't see the field because there was probably excessive chain smoking going on. Just it was
a lot of factors.
Early 1900s are very fuzzy. We don't really know for certain, especially with stats such as these. But what we do know in the year 2024, 35-14, they're currently 6 games ahead of the Braves, and they're in first place in the division in the National League East. They have a plus 83 run differential, which is tied, Nate, with the Los Angeles Dodgers for best in baseball. So they're doing it on both sides of the ball.
That is nuts.
But it's highlighted by one. Their efforts as of late have been highlighted or led by an individual in particular by the name of Ranger Suarez, who you, I believe, have on your fantasy team. So maybe give us a little bit of insight as to A, how he's been, and B, rather, what a joy it's been to have him on your fantasy team.
Well, just kidding. Been delightful. Just been delightful. I wanted to confirm because I didn't think so. I did add him as a free agent. He was not drafted. Now, to be fair, this was early. I added this puppy real early. And I think it was a toss-up. What was the other name? Oh, what's his face with the Royals? What's his face? Brady Singer. That's where I remember I texted my buddy and I was like, what do you think?
You texted me.
Did I text you?
You texted me. I remember you asking me this question.
I was like, Ranger, who has a higher upside, Ranger or Brady Singer? I just want to fill in the roster a little bit. I did have Ranger last year on the squad, and he had some up and down starts. But the man is dominating right now. dominating. So, of course, had to dive into the stats, had to hit up Baseball Savant for a little bit just to see where everything's coming from. Overall, like, not too much of a change in his repertoire. Started rocking the sinker a little bit more, but not like crazy. He's throwing that 33% of the time compared to 28% of the time last year. The slider has basically been eliminated. It looks like he's only thrown 4 of those this year. So like that's out of the mix. So in reality, he is a pretty consistent 4-pitch pitcher. Plus sinker, plus curveball, plus fastball, plus changeup. Just doing his thing, dude. Like that, no one's hitting anything. No one's hitting anything. It's been fun to watch.
Shots fired.
Shots fired from the jealousy corner.
Shots fired. Nicholas says Phillies beating up on subpar teams. Impressive. Found the Braves fan.
Whoa.
We'll get into that. But continue.
It's been fun to watch, dude. Like velocity wise, everything looks about the same. Spin looks about the same. He's just carving. One of the things is no, that's the same too. No one's lifting the fastball against him. So I'm wondering if I haven't gotten a chance to like sit there and just watch his starts. But when we look at last year, the 4-seamer, the launch angle on average was about 19 degrees. This year, it's 5 degrees. So something tells me that him and JT and the pitching staff and coaching have figured out, like, let's work maybe sinker down and then let's work that fastball up in the zone just to show and change eye level. He's just really, really good. And he's not even their ace.
Can I share some numbers?
Please do.
Ranger Suarez is now 9-0 with the lowest ERA through 10 starts to begin a season since 1916. He has started, as I mentioned, 10 games this year for the Phils and has only given up 10 earned runs. Phillies are 10-0 in those starts. In regards to ranks across Major League Baseball, he is first in wins, as you would expect. I mean, he's almost halfway to a 20-game winner season, and we're still in May. First in wins with 9, second in ERA at 1.36. Opponents are hitting 174 against him, which is second in all of baseball. His whip of .79 is also second in baseball, and his 68 strikeouts are 7th in all of baseball. Which by you mentioned he's not even their ace. It's worth showing a little bit of love. This isn't solely Ranger Suarez's efforts that have led to this early lead in the standings for the Phillies. We got to look at the rest of the rotation. Bob Wankel on Twitter says,
good name.
Noted, good name. Bob Wankel noted on Twitter that National League rotations by ERA, Phillies have the best in baseball at 2.59. Next closest is the Dodgers at 3.30.
It's excellent. It's excellent. Look, they're doing this without Trey Turner. They're doing this with a subpar Nick Castellanos. Right? Like, and to be fair, you've had some new guys come into the scene. Brandon Marsh has seemed to really find his stride. Alec Boehm is blooming into what they all expected him to be. Bryce Harper's Bryce Harper. It's pretty impressive in my mind. And I don't know. I didn't look up strength of schedule, so I don't know if that comment was fair or not.
I've got that for you as well.
Do you?
I've got it.
Does that explain some things?
Let's talk about it. In 2024, the Phillies have played, well, this is entering, I want to say Tuesday or maybe even today. So this the numbers might be a little off, give or take a game. The Phillies have played just 3 games against a team with a record currently above 500, and all 3 of those came on opening weekend against the Braves. Since then, the Phillies have played 19 of its games against 5 of Major League Baseball's worst 6 teams: Reds, Rockies, Marlins, Angels, and White Sox. Besides Atlanta, the Phillies have not seen a division leader. Entering Tuesday, Phillies opponents' combined winning percentage this year was .465, by far the lowest in Major League Baseball. The next easiest schedule belonged to Tampa Bay at .477. No other team has a strength of schedule under .480. And to that, I say, what do you want them to do?
Yeah.
What are they supposed to do?
You want them to lose?
Do you want them to lose?
Like
so that they become the laughingstock of baseball, because we all know that would be the response. So like they're kind of in a no-win situation here. Yeah. Ironically, all they're doing, it seems, is winning. But when you look at the big picture, it's really a no-win situation, because you stack them up with these garbage teams out of the gate. They do what they're supposed to do against them, and then they hear nothing but, well, strength of schedule, strength of schedule, strength of schedule. I would argue, however, say what you want about like, oh, well, just wait till they see a good team. I was thinking about this today, and there's no real logic, no real rhyme or reason as to this line of thinking. It's kind of what my gut says, that I would rather be stacked with garbage teams like the Phillies are this year. Get everybody swinging it. Get everybody. I mean, Ranger Suarez and the rest of the staff throwing extremely well. Get everybody on the right page. Everybody clicking. So rack up the wins, and put yourself in a state of good mojo and momentum heading into these tougher matchups against these tougher teams.
Sure.
And then by that point, you're the team that's being talked about heading into these matchups, and you're starting to feel yourself a little bit if you're the Phillies, regardless if or you know, not relevant to the conversation being the games that you just played for the first 40, however many games.
Yeah.
Like that, to me, that's better off. I would rather be in a position like the Phillies and feel good about yourself going into these tougher matchups than to be a team that, okay, yeah, sure, they had a tougher strength of schedule, but you're a little banged up, little nicked up record wise, and maybe personnel wise, who knows? So that's just me.
Yeah, and we all know like the not necessarily rust, but like the settling in time that you have to begin a season. You know, pitchers getting their feel, hitters getting their looks. And like, yeah, it is a little bit of a blessing for them. But again, what do you want them to do? You know, what do you expect them to do? This is how they have to go about things. 35 wins, man, that's pretty absurd. But to snag that and going while, what is it? Getting it while the going's good, something like that. Just getting that lead. You know what I'm saying? Building up that lead in the division. You know the Braves are going to come eventually. But man, it's still impressive. Still good baseball. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing what they can, and it's not even that they're just winning games. Like they're I mean, we just talked about it. Like they're on a historic pace for their franchise. And you've got guys that are just dominating right now. Like Bryce Harper, since coming back, I think I saw he's hitting like 330 or something. He's one of the best, one of the hottest hitters in baseball right now, outside of a guy maybe like Kevin Pillar, who I don't know if you've seen Kevin Pillar's numbers recently, but that guy doesn't belong on the hottest hitters in baseball list, but he's up there. I don't know where that came from.
Pretty sure you picked him up today in fantasy. No?
Yeah, I might drop him. It was a panic move. Had to send Xander to the IL, so I had to snag somebody. Don't know if
what you gotta do.
It's gonna last, but all in all, it's my point was they're not just getting by with these wins. Like they're doing things that this franchise hasn't seen in like 100 years, and they have guys in top 3, top 5 conversations on both sides of the ball, regardless, like based on what stat you're looking at. So it's impressive to see, and I would venture to say that this isn't necessarily going to fade, Like it may taper. It may taper. It's certainly going to taper. It's not sustainable.
Right.
But,
exactly.
But I think in a way that in a similar way that you would look at the Royals and go, okay, like this is for real. Like the Royals seem to be a little bit of a threat. Yeah. I think the same thing applies to the Phillies.
At the end of the year, like, wins are wins, and that's what the total that you're striving for. And in this division, to win it, I don't know if it's crazy to say you need to win at least 95 games, but I think that's the case in this division. With the Braves, I think you need to get at least 95. So like wins are wins. Schedule doesn't get much more difficult. They're in the middle of the series with the Rangers at the moment. Heading out to Coors to see the Rockies, little West Coast trip to get the Giants after that. And then they host the Cardinals to start up June. Brewers, Mets.
Hey, maybe
Red
we
Sox.
need to put some respect on the Cardinals' name. They just swept, I don't know if you saw, just swept the Orioles for the first time. The Orioles had not been swept in the regular season. I think it was 106 series. We all know at this point the whole Adley-Rutschman effect. Cardinals said no more.
That's maybe a turn your season around type sweep for the Cards. But anyway, looks like the Phillies are still kind of smooth sailing the rest of the month and the beginning of next month. And then things could start to pick up difficulty wise in June. But you got to do what you got to do, man. Get dubs.
Speaking of dubs, the Houston Astros. You idiots. I told you.
We've been saying this.
I told you this was going to happen. Like, how dumb do you have to be to think that the Astros were just going to fall off?
Yeah. Yep.
It happens every year. It doesn't matter who they have on the team, who they lose, who's on the IL. They find a way to stay in the mix for the majority of the year, if not leading their division, and then they just zoom right on to an ALCS appearance, if not a World Series appearance. It's every year. And look, I get it. They're still under 500. They're still not playing their greatest ball, but entering Wednesday, they've won 10 of their last 13. Don't know how much better it really gets than that. Outside of just winning out, if we're being honest. Had a walk-off from Jeremy Pena. I think he had an RBI single to finish off the Angels last night. But the real story in Houston right now, Kyle Tucker.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
I know I've mentioned this multiple times, but the only thing that I really think of anymore when I think of Kyle Tucker is that moment during, what was it? Was it the 19 World Series against the Nationals where he was just cheeks? He couldn't do anything but strike out. Wasn't that the 19 World Series that happened in?
I think so.
Or no, maybe it was like the 2018 playoffs. It was somewhere. It was 18-19.
There was an ALCS where I think they faced the Yankees that he struggled.
Well, the 18 ALCS was against the Sox. And I remember watching that one. And then the 19 was the World Series run against the Nationals.
But everybody's been saying this. Like we all knew it was in there. Like this is
right.
I think this is like the I'm coming on the scene, becoming a household name type year. But I think everyone knew that this was in there.
I mean, he's putting himself at the forefront of the MVP conversation. And honestly, I was looking around today. The American League MVP,
I know,
is the race itself is going to be a blast to follow this year.
Yeah,
like, I am very excited. There are some dudes, and if they can maintain, some of these guys are just playing out of their minds right now. So you're, again, as we talk about all the time, you're going to have your peaks and valleys, but remotely close if they can maintain what they're doing. This is going to be an insane race down the stretch. Yeah. Kyle Tucker right now currently leads all of baseball with 17 home runs. This is entering Wednesday. He's hitting 293, 36 ribbies. He has 9 stolen bases, an OPS of 1075, an OPS plus of 206, and has accumulated a WAR thus far of 3.5.
Yeah, this is like a 40-20 cakewalk.
Yeah.
That's what we're on pace for.
He has 12 home runs in his last 22 games.
Yeah,
and
has
crazy. Let me check, has more walks than strikeouts this year.
What I was gonna say too is that like he rotates in the lineup. He floats like 1 through 4. I don't know what the philosophy is there, but like they played the Yankees last week. It was like sometimes he was leading off. I think he started 2 of those games with a leadoff home run. What the heck, man? Like, who is this guy of being able to do this? And in what world were we talking about, like, him being the dude over Jordan? And he is right now.
I mean, to Jordan's credit, he hasn't had the greatest. I mean, he's still swinging it well, all things considered. But I mean, I don't think he's taken the leap that maybe Kyle Tucker did year to year, or year over year, I should say. So you have to take that into consideration. But even if Jordan was swinging it well, I don't even know if he. I mean, he's leading all of baseball. Like, it's not just like, oh, he's leading the squad in home runs. He's leading the AL. He's literally leading all of baseball, which is just insane. Because, again, it goes back to the point that has been brought up so much in that Kyle Tucker does not get talked about nearly as much as he should.
No.
And I understand it's this weird storm of like, well, we don't want to talk about the Astros because it's the Astros. And also, like, we want to talk more about Jordan because, as we always say, a man amongst boys, it seems, when he steps to the plate. And then you got guys in the mix like Verlander, who often grabs headlines from time to time. Kyle Tucker, I just feel like, is there. And like you say, he kind of rotates, he floats. He's there, he's producing, but it's just, for some reason, just doesn't latch on to the mainstream conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nuts, man. And the swing is just like, it's so like in the zone for so long. He really like flattens out early, and he's got this really long path. Yeah, man, like Soto is kind of the only one that I can think of where he's so in the zone for that long. Kyle Tucker's right there. It's nuts, man. Maybe we need to address like the swag at some point, the batting gloves, the no batting gloves. I don't know what's going on there, but you know, whatever.
He's a little superstitious, man. He'll switch it around, whatever's working. I get it. I'm not even gonna blame him. I mean, It would be nice, like, if you are gonna become a household name and be in the, maybe, who knows, maybe he's gonna be in the MVP conversation on a yearly basis moving forward. If that's the case, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I would say, you know, and maybe like try to blend in a little bit with the rest of the dudes. They're swagging out a little bit, but
just a little.
Also, maybe on the flip side of that conversation, you know, maybe just be the dude that doesn't. You know, we need a guy like that every now and then. Just something to consider.
I suppose.
You mentioned an automatic 40-20 year this year. According to Roto Frank on Twitter, and this was after last night's game, Tuesday night's game, he tweeted out, said Kyle Tucker's 162 game pace after tonight is 57 home runs, 121 runs, 121 RBIs, and 30 stolen bags.
50-30 sounds a little better. Yeah. Sheesh, dude.
That's what we're looking at. Speaking of dudes, Bobby Witt Jr. No disrespect to Bobby Witt Sr., but Bobby Witt Jr. is the dude. And you want to talk about a guy that's going to be in the MVP conversation on a yearly basis moving forward. This guy is one of those guys. But before we get into the conversation, I need, it's worth repeating. I need to reiterate the fact that one day, whether it's by winning the fantasy league, whenever that day hopefully comes, it's been years at this point, haven't had it, or just buying it myself, or maybe it's even gifted. Who knows? I'm going to own a powder blue Bobby Witt jersey. It's going to happen.
Needs to happen. And
it begs the question. It got me thinking. I'm like, all right, well, if I went Bobby Witt, like what are some other dudes? And kind of going off on a tangent here. Who are a couple other dudes that maybe I'd be interested in snagging their jerseys? Who would be like your top 3 outside of your own Yankees squad? Outside of that, who are 3 guys that you would like know? Say money wasn't an object. Say it was me being like, hey, I'll order you 3 jerseys right now. Who would it be outside of the Yankees? Because I'm sitting there thinking with the Bobby Witt, I'm like, that right at this very moment outside of the Sox, that's number 1, easy.
That's number 1
for sure. Powder blue Bobby Witt, that's number 1 for me.
Let me look through. Give me. I feel like it's a little crazy to say I wouldn't mind a Corbin Carroll jersey. A black D-backs.
I feel you. It's a tough time to say it, but
yeah.
Let's just pretend that it's post 2023.
Yeah, black D-backs, Corbin Carroll jersey. I think this one might surprise you a little bit. I think a powder blue Rangers Corey Seager jersey.
That's a good pick. You're a big Corey Seager guy?
I'm a big Corey Seager guy. I'm a sucker for big shortstops. Just fun to watch. Third one.
I might go Gunnar Henderson if I'm being honest. I might go Gunnar.
That's up there.
Then because as I mentioned, I've evolved now into the biggest Mike Trout defender because the haters, the number of haters are just climbing. They're just off the charts. I may just have to go an Angels Trout uni if I'm being honest.
If the Giants could just have somebody that I would root for, I think the black SF Giants jersey.
That's very clean.
Just give me somebody to work with there.
That's very clean. Very, very much into the black unis, I see. Black Corbin Carroll, black Giants uni.
Yeah, I like those. I like them a lot.
I like it. Well, if you think of somebody to round out that list throughout the episode, let me know. But let's talk Bobby Witt here. On the season, entering Wednesday, he was hitting 304, 7 home runs, 31 ribbies, 16 stolen bases, and a 909 OPS. But it was Tuesday night, the Bobby Witt Jr. game. 2 tanks, 6 ribbies, 3 hits on the day, 3 runs scored, and to top it all off, he had a stolen base. But he had, what was it? It was like 900 feet worth of home runs between the 2 home runs I think I saw.
It was like 460.
468. It was the longest of his career.
That was the one that hit the water, right?
Yeah, it just kept going.
I think that got the Patrick Mahomes reaction on Twitter, I believe.
It did. I saw that. Yeah, it's one of those ones. I was like, when the camera switches, like you're obviously behind the pitcher for the at bat.
Yeah.
And then when it switches and the cameraman's tracking the ball as it's making its way to the outfield, I like watching the reactions of it's like a wave of people, like people's hands and arms that like makes their way up. And and then you get the people like turn around. So like you can kind of pinpoint where this thing is going to land based on the reactions of the people around the ball. this thing just kept going. And like you just watch the people around, they're just looking. And then it didn't even land in anybody's hands. It landed, like you said, in the water. So that was a moonshot.
I'm telling you, this contract is going to go down as one of the biggest steals. He's so good.
It's crazy, dude.
Friend of the pod, Bobby Witt Jr. If
Friend
for
of
those
the
who are
pod.
curious, yeah.
I might go back and listen to that just for old time's sake.
Nabbed him early. We nabbed him early.
Real early.
Right after the draft, I believe.
Yeah. I think it was like almost immediately after.
Yeah.
Maybe weeks, couple months, but it was very, very quick. According to Jake Eisenberg, rather, on Twitter, he said Bobby Witt has started all 50 of the Royals games and played 432 of 438 possible innings at short. Again, entering Wednesday. He's currently got a 3.2 F4, which is tied for second in baseball. He's slashing 304, 362, 546. He's got a walk rate of 8.3, strikeout rate of 16.5, hard hit rate of 53.4. Plus 8 outs above average, which is first in baseball for shortstops. 7 defensive runs saved, which is tied for first amongst major league shortstops. And by the way, in case you're wondering, is Bobby Witt really that fast? He's got a 30.4 feet per second rate, which is tied for first in baseball. Is the full package.
Yeah, I'm excited for the position of shortstop that Gunnar and Bobby Witt are like bringing to baseball. And like nothing against this group that we saw hit free agency a few years ago, but like Lindor and Correa and Xander, like I think we saw like who they really are post contracts. And now that we're a few years into this, like these guys weren't like generational shortstops. We're now getting this new class of generational shortstops. And I don't know, man, like you and I are a little biased, but like I feel like the shortstop should be the best player on your team. And it's cool to see these two guys leading the league in a lot of categories who are the best players on their respective teams.
You mentioned that class, and I think it's worth talking about. Is it a stretch to say that maybe that class didn't age as well as we would have hoped? Like, yeah, you've got some dudes still in there that are still playing well above average baseball. But I think between maybe certain responses of contracts in terms of maybe a little bit of a fall off with that comfortability, that security, or just injuries, is it safe to say that maybe this is our chance for another go at that? Because we're like I tweeted out today, and some people may consider it controversial, but I'm saying I said something along the lines of like we're playing in the latest golden age of shortstops right now. Because you got to think, I mean, we've got Bobby Witt, we've got Gunnar Henderson, we've got Trey Turner. I mean, a little bit of an overlap, but like Francisco Lindor. Currently, the way that baseball is constructed right now, roster wise, and who's got their shortstop locked up, or at least who the team knows is going to be their shortstop. Like this is an incredible era for shortstops, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And you know there's some talent coming. I don't get me wrong, there's a huge gap between these guys and this guy, but like, you know, Volpe is starting to develop into his own thing. You have Perdomo, who we saw with the D-backs, who kind of came on. I know he's hurt right now and not, you know, in the picture as much, but like we saw him come onto the scene last year. The D-backs have Jordan Lawler, who's going to be coming up any second too, who is going to be a stud. Like, I don't know, man. I think we're going to get into this new phase of guys taking over. It's freaking cool, man. I'm just a sucker for a shortstop stud.
Well, I was just all giddy this morning, just looking around Baseball Reference and doing a little compare and contrast between Bobby Witt and Gunnar Henderson, because that's a guy who, both of which are on my fantasy team. So little added incentive there. Thank you for Bobby Witt, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. It hurts every single time he's brought up. It hurts.
Yep.
I never should have done it. I knew I shouldn't have done it.
It's all right. It's all right. But I'm super excited in particular about those two guys. So I wanted to ask you, because to be honest with you, I don't know if we've really talked about Gunnar as much as we should have, similar to a name like Kyle Tucker. Don't know if we've given Gunnar the respect he's been due on this particular show to date. But on the season, he's hitting 267. He's got 16 bombs, which, as we know, is right there at the top. 34 ribbies, 7 stolen bases, 946 OPS, and an OPS plus of 171. And this was before, I think that, they played today, played the Cardinals. They wrapped up that series, so those numbers might be slightly off. But all in all, having a great year, and another name that's right there in the mix for American League MVP. So I wanted to ask you, between those two, this is an impossible question. Yeah. Who would you rather build your franchise around?
I guess I'll take Bobby just because of the speed factor. Because like if you're just gonna say it's a wash on everything else, it seems like all the other tools are a little bit of a wash. Like they're both incredible defensively. I guess I'll just give the edge to Bobby for speed and stolen bases.
I mean, we can assume, right, that Bobby is going to age better at short with his frame as opposed to a guy like Gunnar. I feel like Gunnar is gonna.
What's the size difference there?
I don't know like the height difference, but it just seems like Gunnar is going to be a guy that's going to, and it's not a knock against him, but it seems like Gunnar is going to be the type of guy that evolves into a third baseman role sooner than maybe a guy like Bobby would. And I know there's a couple age or a couple years in the age difference there, but I don't know. I just feel like Bobby's frame, it seems like he's a little lighter on his feet. I don't know the advanced numbers. They may say otherwise. But I think Bobby Witt Jr. is going to age a little better at the shortstop position.
Yeah, Gunner's 6'3", 195. The other
Bobby,
argument,
wait, say it, you're 6'3", 195?
Yeah.
Bobby's 6'1", 190. So
okay, yeah. So yeah. Size is gonna get you eventually. What I was gonna say is like nothing against Gunnar, nothing against the Orioles organization, but like let's face it, the solidifying of shortstop it took a little bit of time. Like there were conversations about him, being at short or being at third, being at second. Like, is Jackson a better shortstop? Does he come into that mix? Like even last year, we saw Gunnar playing a lot of third and a lot of second. It's been like this clear path for Bobby to be at shortstop, like a no-brainer. When he was drafted, like that was the move. And I don't know if that has to do with the organization or the lack of roster depth in certain areas, like whatever. It's just it felt like that was more of like, we know this is our shortstop. The Orioles know this now with Gunnar, but there was a little bit of hesitation beforehand. So I don't know. Give me the edge to Bobby. I'm assuming you're the same way.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm landing. I mean, I know
not by much. I
know pop wise, Gunnar's got a substantial edge in that category thus far, but I mean, I think the pop will continue to develop for Bobby, and I don't know, dude. I love the way both of those guys play the game, but
yeah.
I've been seeing post-game clips of Bobby and just the way he's just interacting with the social media team and with fans and the guys on his team. He's just got like swag's not the right word, but he's got like this charisma where I'm like, I need that.
Big confidence. Yeah.
I need that. For a guy that I want to build my franchise around, I need that. And not to say that Gunnar doesn't have similar qualities, but not as, to me at least, not as pronounced as what Bobby brings to the table.
Yeah.
That's just me. Speaking of some other young dudes, Vladdy Jr., Bo on the table, possibly. Are they getting traded? Are they getting shipped out? Let's see what Nate has to say.
I don't know. First off, I'm gonna say not both of them. I'm gonna plant my flag on the fact that I don't think both of them.
You are definitively saying that the Blue Jays, despite their struggles,
I think they keep one.
okay.
I have a feeling they keep Bo. I think Bo stays.
I'm with you on that.
Power hitting first basemen are still rare, but like it's more rare to find, this kind of shortstop. So I feel like Vlad is the one that goes. I don't think he goes, but if there is one, I think he's the one.
Do you think there's like a frustration brewing amongst the Blue Jays organization, specifically maybe with like the front office, and maybe the whole reason this conversation is being brought up anyway is they're like, dude, like, come on, man. You've been a part of this picture for a while now. We've been waiting. And not to say that like he hasn't produced, but like there has to be a little bit of disappointment, I would think, on behalf of the front office and maybe even fans alike, that they're like, this what that we're not getting we're still wanting for more, essentially. Like that we haven't quite gotten. And I hate to keep beating us into the ground, but like we haven't gotten that movie yet from Vladdy Jr. And it's maybe causing a little bit of division amongst the organization.
I genuinely think it's a lack of maturity. Like I'm kind of ready to be like, who are you when 100% of your focus is being better at baseball? You know what I'm saying? Like, when are we going to see like he's got to trim down. And I know he's shown up to camp, a few different times in his career so far that he's like, hey, he's slimmer than he was last year. He's got to slim down. He's got to get better at first base. And I'm waiting to see, like, when are you going to get over this hump of like, I'm ready to be a Hall of Famer? And there's so much, and I don't know if it has to do with the Blue Jays organization or their clubhouse or their roster, but there is like this like unearned swagger, chip on your shoulder, chirping that they all do. And we've talked about, like, that's one of our issues with Manoah. It's like, what have you done to talk this way? What have you done to walk this way? Like, show me more. And are you getting this treatment if your name isn't Junior? You know what I'm saying? Like, how much of this still is acceptable if you're a different name? He gets under my skin. And that's a biased thing, of course. Like, sure. I can't stand the Blue Jays. They drive me insane. But everything out of Vlad's mouth is like, it's like doubt me, I'll show you. And like the Yankees, all they do is think about us. Like, it's everything out of his mouth is like, and it's like, at some point, shut up and show me what your potential is.
So you're not referencing anything because I don't think Vladdy's made headlines for anything soundbite wise as of late. You're saying more generally, like big picture. It's just picture, been like, it's just
since we've seen him,
something that's developed. Yeah,
since he's been here, and it's like this. I don't know. You haven't earned it yet.
So you think he's the one that's gonna go? Tell me where you see him going.
I looked through different places, and there was I think an article that came out on Bleacher Report of like the top 10 landing spots. Here's some spots where I eliminated that were on that list: the Royals and the Astros. I got rid of those guys. Only one, and I know this isn't like the end all be all, but they only have one top 100 ranked prospect. So I don't think there's enough I think the Blue Jays asking price is going to be pretty high. So I'm going to eliminate those guys. I'm going to eliminate the Guardians. plenty of top ranked guys, but they have Kyle Manzardo, who is like a true pure hitter. We saw him in spring training, lefty, and I think they're really high on him. I think he's probably going to be up this year. Or he's up already. I think he's gotten some ABs already. He's going to settle in. I got rid of the Giants. They have a young Giants.
Can I chime in there? I got just a note, and I'll let you keep rolling.
All right, you roll.
That was actually my pick. I mean,
Giants?
There's so much speculation that goes into something like this, as we see this every offseason, like who's going to end up where. So it's really just kind of looking at some general numbers. And weirdly enough, this is super, super insignificant, but it's just interesting. So I'm like, the stars might align for a team like the Giants. Oracle Park. It's the smallest sample size of any ballpark in Major League Baseball for Vladdy Jr. He has 7 ABs in Oracle Park. He has 3 hits. 2 of them are home runs.
Yeah.
And then you combine that with the fact that Vladdy Jr. isn't an elite name star that the Giants seemingly miss out on every year.
Yeah.
He's a tier down, or some would maybe even argue 2 tiers down. I would say 1 tier down. When he's playing his best ball, I would say he's a tier down. Right there in that wheelhouse. And I think right now the only thing they're really working with is Lamont Wade Jr.
Yeah,
there at first. So
who transitioned from the outfield to first base? It's not even like that was his home. I agree. I don't hate it. The only reason I said no, they have Bryce Eldridge, who is a pretty high ranked prospect. His due date is 2026, so I think he's around the corner. But I don't hate because there is still a year of control left for Vlad, I believe. Year
and a half. I think it was 2 at the start of this year. So year
the rest of this year and next year. I said no only because of but I get your argument. My maybe spots, and then I'll give you my pick. You know this better than I do, but I thought the Red Sox could maybe consider it. The Green Monster is just up for grabs. I mean, that's like the dream in Fenway, is to have a power bat from the right side. They do have 3 top 100 ranked prospects. They rank 18th in farm systems, according to Bleacher Report. They have Kenley Jensen coming off the books next year too. So like, if you're talking extension, it could be done.
Well, I mean,
plenty of payroll move.
Cass is going to be your guy at first moving forward, and I would venture to say that Raffy moves to the DH spot sooner than we think.
That's fair. I was going to say, if that does happen, I think Cassis would be included in the deal.
I think they're too high on Cass, especially. And I don't know if the Jays would go in the division, to be honest with you. That'd be interesting.
That's true. That's why it's a maybe for me. Another maybe, the Twins, they rank 15th in farm systems. They have 4 top 100 guys. 3 of those guys are outfielders. I have a feeling that's what the Blue Jays are looking for, is some outfield depth and getting younger there. The Cubs have the number 1 ranked prospect farm. They have 7 top 100 guys. Do they need to make that move? Are they ready to win? I don't know. So my pick is the Mariners. It's that sweet spot. They're the 12th ranked farm system. They have 4 top 100 guys. I think I'm kind of done with the Ty France situation. I think he would probably be included in that deal. He's set to be a free agent next year anyway. I like that spot. They're in a win now mode. I know that Astros have started to turn it around, but like right now they're controlling this division and they need to be in contention this year. So I know that's not like a super out of the box pick. I know there's plenty out there that are picking the Mariners too, but that's what I landed on.
I like it.
Yeah. Bo, real quick note on Bo. If he does go anywhere, maybe Dodgers. Include Gavin Lux in there with some prospects. Just move on from that experiment. They have a 6th ranked farm, by the way. I did also put the Red Sox. Don't know there. Be a little weird.
Depends on how quickly Marcelo gets up, but
the real underdog pick for me would be the Guardians. Because of the first base being taken care of with that Bryce Eldridge kid, or excuse me, the Kyle Mazzardo kid, I think the Guardians have enough to make that move. And like, I don't know, maybe you get him for a little bit, and I don't think they extend him, but at least you get him for this year and like try to make a run. And he fits into like what they do. They just slap the ball around all over the field.
That's a good point. That's a good point. That's
like
their philosophy.
So I don't know. I could see it there too.
I like that. I like that pick.
I don't think he goes anywhere, but I could
definitely see that.
Yeah. The other competition to this is I think Willie Adames is going to get moved at some point this year.
True.
So that's what Bo is competing against, and it just depends on asking price.
Well, kind of putting a bow on this whole thing, and I alluded to it earlier, but I was looking at the shortstop situations across Major League Baseball. You would be surprised at how many teams are set at short.
Yeah.
There are very few teams that I think would be willing to part with high level prospects for a guy like Bo, given their current situation. Like, there are very few.
Yeah.
And the few that would need a guy like Bo, it's like, why now? Why him? So
right. It's especially small when, and again, for both of these names, it's got to be almost a compete now.
Right.
And almost a payroll that be willing to try and extend. And it really narrows it down. The market's not that big, which that means that's why I don't think they're going anywhere. I don't think the Blue Jays are going to budge on their asking price, and the market isn't as big for Bo, a little bigger for Vlad, but yeah.
I mean, who knows? Maybe the Tigers just say, screw it, cut ties with Javi and
that'd be legit.
Go get Bo. I mean, because they're kind of right there in the mix. Who knows? Well, we'll see. I like your pick of the Guardians a little better. I think that makes a little more sense. Well, that about does it. Unless you have anything else. I know it's a little quicker than usual, but we got to get out of here.
It's normal length, and we're calling it quicker than usual.
Well, we're sub an hour right now, so that's
what healthy podcast length looks like.
That's true. We're sub an hour right now, so we can still take advantage of that if we get out of here. But if we continue on for much longer, we'll be hour 15 is usually where we end up more times than not. So
yeah,
it is a little shorter, a little shorter than normal. So I feel like we got to everything we wanted to. So unless there's anything you got to add, I think we're good. I promise, hopefully, well, I can't promise because it's the USPS. Who knows what they're doing? Hope to have the A's polo by next episode, and it'll be Billy Bean for the next 14 episodes from there on out.
Can't freaking wait. Can't wait. I love it. Let's have a good weekend, everybody. We're basically there. Don't go chasing curveballs.
Love you all, and as always, looking forward to talking more baseball with you guys soon. Until next time, stay filthy.